Inferno by Dan Brown. Picking Dan Brown for writing the best thriller of 2013 is like falling down a set of stairs only to realize that you wanted to be there anyway. Sure, it might not be ideal, but it gets the job done. Inferno is definitely not the book you pick up if you're an English scholar hoping to not want to jab your eyes out by the end, but it unabashedly creates a historic universe that's much less boring than your own. While it doesn't live up to the excitement or realism of the Da Vinci Code, it still makes putting down the book more of a workout than holding it up. Convicted. The first time I picked up this book, I had it on the floor buried within 2 minutes. I just finished a cookie-cutter thriller, and Convicted felt like I was drowning in estrogen. Eventually, when I ran out of other new books to conquer, I dug it out, and I was pleasantly surprised. The first half of the book was a bit like reading two bad mystery novels plopped together by a lazy editor. It was interesting, but there were too many unnecessary details. It could make a textbook jealous. The second half is where it really turned into an amazing novel that was well worth the trouble. Suspect. When I heard Suspect was about a damaged man and a dog working together to solve a mystery, I felt the little urge to cut the tips of my fingers and scream, "At least I feel something," whenever I picked up the book. I've never been much for cliched animal stories. That being said, I figured Robert Christ couldn't lead me too wrong. As usual with his books, the characters have enough baggage to make a hotel elevator crash. That carries this novel along comfortably on its own, but there is much more to the story. Despite my absolute hatred for creatures that poop on lawns, the dog turned out to be a pivotal and powerful character. Threat Vector by Tom Clancy. There are two things I hate about Tom Clancy, and this novel includes a boatload of both. First, it's shoved with more nationalism than a lifetime of living in North Korea. Second, it often drones on about the details of weapons and other things that I couldn't care less about. With that on the table, Tom Clancy does one thing that I absolutely love every time. Threat Vector tells an amazing story. It's as good as any other writer when you learn to think about sports during the bad parts. 6 Years by Harlan Coben. Reading 6 Years is kind of like reading a novel written by a teenager. Reading it is a bit painful, but it's definitely not boring. Harlan Coben is not an amazing writer. He has a unique style. By that, I definitely mean he has a special style. Much of the novel is absolutely ridiculous. It appears the fact checker for this book might have been a politician because I can't smell a hint of reality the whole time. I never pick up a book for more reality, though. I figure I could just go outside for that. This thriller used a classic formula to perfection. It drags the reader in no matter how much you're kicking and screaming about the terrible style. Joyland by Stephen King. Joyland is a well-written novel. While most of the authors on this list tend to be hit and miss, Stephen King pretty much always produces a solid novel that would make an English professor comfortable. Joyland is a coming-of-age horror novel. This scores a few points lower on the nightmare scale than some of his older novels, but it holds its own. The biggest problem with this novel is that it's not old Stephen King. The novel is formulaic and a little bit uninteresting at parts. The Gods of Guilt by Michael Connelly. If I ever get into any legal trouble, I'll most definitely be disappointed by the lawyers being nothing like the characters in a Connelly novel. They're realistic in a traditional sense, but they're so completely entrenching that it's like I'm wearing their skin as a suit. Relatively speaking, this novel is a bit slow to start, but at no point did I question whether or not I would finish it. By slow, I might as well be saying that it's like a good lover. Plenty of foreplay. Sure, as a thriller, it might not be what you're looking for, but it's hard to complain.